Picture this. You're sitting on your couch on a Sunday evening looking at a retirement calculator or a savings goal you set for yourself 3 years ago. You tell yourself the same thing you said back then. I just need to get through this month. Once that bonus hits or once the car is paid off, then I'll really start. I've still got time. It feels like a reasonable decision, doesn't it? You're not being irresponsible, you're being patient. But what if I told you that every single day you spend waiting for the right time is actually a withdrawal from a bank account you didn't even know you owned? What if I told you that procrastination isn't just a bad habit, it's a high-interest tax that is quietly stealing the most valuable version of your future while you sleep? Most people think that if they start investing at 35 instead of 25, they're just 10 years behind. Simple math, right? 10 years of contributions. Wrong. Dead wrong. In the world of wealth building, time isn't just a factor in the equation, it is the equation. And the I'll start later tax is the most expensive bill you will ever pay. Here is your professor, and I spend an embarrassing amount of time analyzing compound interest and why most people, even those earning six figures, never seem to break free from the feeling that they're running in place financially. If you're tired of watching your potential wealth evaporate because you're waiting for a perfect moment that doesn't exist, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm show this to other people who are currently sleepwalking into a financial disaster. Before we dive into the brutal math of what procrastination actually costs you, let me address the lie we all tell ourselves. We think wealth building is a linear process, that we can just catch up later by working harder or saving more. We imagine ourselves at 45, finally settled, throwing massive chunks of money into the market to make up for lost time. But here's the reality that makes most financial advisors weep. You cannot out-earn a late start. According to recent data, the difference between starting your investment journey today and waiting just 5 years can result in a gap of hundreds of thousands of dollars by the time you retire. It's like trying to catch a train that's already left the station. The faster you run, the further away the taillights get. Today, we're going to look at why your brain is hardwired to make this mistake, and I'm going to show you the exact dollar amount you are losing every single month you stay on the sidelines. Most people treat their financial life like a marathon where they can just run faster in the final miles to make up for a slow start. They think, if I don't save $500 a month now in my 20s, I'll just save $1,000 a month in my 40s. It's the same thing. But in the world of compound interest, that logic isn't just flawed, it's a mathematical suicide mission. Let me show you why the I'll start later tax is so punishing. We're going to look at two people, early Emily and later Logan. Emily starts investing $500 a month when she's 25. She does this for exactly 10 years, and then at age 35, she stops entirely. She never adds another cent for the rest of her life. She just lets that money sit in an index fund, averaging a 10% annual return. Logan, on the other hand, waits until he's 35 to start. He realizes he's behind, so he also invests $500 a month. But unlike Emily, he doesn't stop after 10 years. He keeps contributing that $500 every single month for 30 years, all the way until he's 65. By the time they both reach 65, who do you think has more money? Logan invested $180,000 of his own cash over 3 decades. Emily only invested $60,000 over 1 decade. Common sense says Logan should be way ahead, right? Wrong. Emily ends up with roughly $950,000. Logan, despite working 3 times as hard and putting in 3 times as much money, ends up with around $100,000 less than Emily. That $100,000 gap is the I'll start later tax. Logan paid a 6-figure penalty simply for the privilege of waiting 10 years to get serious. Emily's money had an extra decade to breathe, to double, and to double again. While Logan was waiting for the right time, Emily's dollars were out there working 24/7, 365 days a year, building a momentum that Logan could literally never catch, no matter how hard he worked. This is what I mean when I say you cannot out-earn a late start. The math of wealth isn't about how much you make, it's about how much time you give your money to stop being cash and start being an employee.
When you tell yourself you'll start later, you aren't just delaying the work, you are deleting the most powerful years of your money's life. You are cutting off the exponential hockey stick growth at the end of the graph before it even has a chance to begin. We love to talk about the cost of living, but we almost never talk about the cost of waiting. For Logan, that cost was $120,000 in extra contributions and still ending up behind. But the tax isn't just mathematical, it's psychological. Every month you wait, the mountain you have to climb gets steeper. When you're 25, the cost of becoming a millionaire might be the price of a few nice dinners a month. When you're 45, the cost of reaching that same goal might be your entire lifestyle. You're not just paying more money later, you're paying with your freedom, your stress levels, and your ability to take risks.
Now, at this point, you're probably looking at the math from the last section and feeling a mix of regret and motivation. You're thinking, okay, I get it. The math is brutal. I'll start tomorrow. But here is the terrifying truth. Your brain is actively working against you. There is a reason why "I'll start later" is the most common lie told in the history of human finance. And it's not because you're lazy, it's because your brain is biologically wired to keep you broke. In psychology, there's a concept called hyperbolic discounting. It's a fancy term for a very simple primal glitch in our hardware. Evolutionarily speaking, your brain doesn't care about 65-year-old you sitting on a beach with $1 million. That version of you feels like a total stranger, a fictional character in a movie you haven't seen yet. Your brain cares about today you. It cares about the dopamine hit of a new pair of shoes, the instant comfort of a $7 latte, or the relief of not having to look at a complicated brokerage statement right now. To your prehistoric brain, $1 today is worth way more than $10 30 years from now, because 30 years from now you might be dead. We are wired for immediate survival, not long-term compounding. This is why the "I'll start later" tax is so insidious. When you say you'll start next year, you aren't making a logical financial decision. You're performing an act of emotional outsourcing. You are taking the stress of saving and the pain of discipline today, and you're shipping it off to a future version of yourself who you assume will be more disciplined, more energetic, and more wealthy. But here's the spoiler. That future you is just the same current you, only older, more tired, and carrying the massive debt of the time you already wasted. I see this all the time. People wait until they have a real career, or until the kids are out of diapers, or until the economy stabilizes. They are waiting for a version of life where there are no distractions. But life is a series of distractions. If you wait for the noise to stop before you start investing, you will die waiting. The most successful people I know didn't start when they had extra money. They started when it was uncomfortable. They recognized that their current self is a terrible judge of what their future self needs. They bypassed their biology by automating the process, taking the decision out of their hands entirely. Think about it. 15 seconds. That is the window of time I talk about often. When your paycheck hits, you have 15 seconds of willpower before your primal brain takes over and starts looking for ways to spend it. If you haven't set up a system to move that money into your future before you can touch it, you've already lost the battle to your own biology. The "I'll start later" tax isn't just a penalty for being bad at math. It's a penalty for being human. And the only way to stop paying it is to stop trusting your future self to be a hero and start being a hero for them right now while the clock is still ticking.
One of the most dangerous parts of the "I'll start later" tax is how we justify it to ourselves. We don't tell ourselves we're being lazy, we tell ourselves we're being safe. We say, I'm going to keep this $20,000 in my checking account just in case. Or, I'm going to wait until I've paid off every single cent of my 3% interest mortgage before I start investing. On the surface, these feel like responsible, conservative choices. But in the reality of wealth building, safe is often just another word for stagnant. When you leave $20,000 sitting in a standard savings account earning 0.01%, while inflation is running at 3 or 4%, you aren't saving money. You are literally watching your purchasing power melt away like a block of ice in the sun. You feel safe because the number on the screen isn't going down, but the value of that number, what it can actually buy you in the future, is shrinking every single day. This is what I call the opportunity cost trap. Every dollar has a job description. If its job is to sit in a vault and look pretty, it's a bad employee. If its job is to go out into the market, buy shares of the world's most productive companies and bring back more dollars, it's a wealth-building machine. Think about the safe decisions most people make. The cash hoarder. They keep $50,000 in a big bank because they're afraid of a market crash. Over 10 years, that money loses roughly 25% of its value to inflation. Meanwhile, if it were in a total market index fund, it likely would have doubled. Their safety cost them $50,000 in lost growth. The timing expert. They wait for a market correction to start. They sit on the sidelines for 3 years waiting for prices to drop 10%. But while they waited, the market went up 30%. Even if the crash finally happens, they're still buying in at a higher price than if they had just started on day one. The debt obsessive. They refuse to invest a single dollar until their low-interest student loans are gone. They spend 10 years paying off a 4% loan while missing out on 10% average market returns. They've essentially paid a 6% spread for a decade. The I'll start later tax is a compounding penalty on these safe choices. Wealthy people don't look for safety, they look for asymmetry. They look for places where the long-term upside heavily outweighs the short-term risk. They understand that the biggest risk of all isn't a market dip, it's the guaranteed loss of time. If you are 30 years old and you have $10,000 to your name, you are sitting on a gold mine of time. If you wait until you're 40 to feel safe enough to invest it, you haven't just lost 10 years, you've lost the doubling cycles that happen at the end of your life. That $10,000 could have turned into $160,000 by the time you're 70. By waiting 10 years, you've essentially set fire to $80,000 of your future wealth just to feel comfortable in the present. Is it scary to see your account balance fluctuate? Of course. But do you know what's scarier? Being 65 years old and realizing that your safe strategy left you with half the money you need to survive. The I'll start later tax doesn't care about your comfort zone. It only cares about the clock.
So here we are. You know the math is brutal, you know your brain is literally wired to sabotage you, and you know that your safe decisions are actually the riskiest moves you can make. The question isn't whether the I'll start later tax is real. The question is, how much longer are you going to keep paying it? Because the truth is, the tax only stops when you decide that future you deserves to be wealthy more than present you deserves to be comfortable. Stopping the bleed doesn't require a financial miracle or a six-figure inheritance. It requires a system that makes it impossible for you to fail. Remember that 15-second window we talked about earlier? We're going to use those 15 seconds to build a fortress around your future. Step 1. The $10,000 firewall. If you haven't hit that first $10,000 milestone, your only job is to get there as fast as humanly possible. This isn't just about the money, it's about the psychological shift. Once you have 5 figures sitting in a high-yield savings account, you stop making decisions out of desperation. You stop paying the emergency tax every time a tire blows out or a laptop dies. You gain the confidence to look at the long term because your short term is finally secure. Step 2. Kill the later logic. Stop waiting for the perfect amount to invest. If you can't do $500 a month, do $50. If you can't do $50, do $5. The amount matters infinitely less than the habit of starting. Why? Because $50 a month started at 22 is worth more than $500 a month started at 42. You are buying time, and time is the only commodity that the market doesn't replenish. Step 3. Automate your discipline. Your willpower is a finite resource that runs out by 4 p.m. on a Tuesday. Do not trust it. Set up an automatic transfer that triggers the second your paycheck hits your account. Move that money to your brokerage or your high-yield savings before you even see the balance. If you never see it, you'll never miss it. You'll adjust your lifestyle to whatever's left over, and meanwhile, your wealth employees are clocking in for their shift. Look, I'm not going to tell you it's easy. It's hard to say no to the upgrade, the vacation, or the safe feeling of a bloated checking account. But do you know what's harder? Being 60 years old and realizing you've paid a $500,000 I'll start later tax because you were waiting for a sign that never came. The best time to start was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now before the next minute ticks off the clock. Every day you wait is a day of compound interest you can never get back. It's time to stop being a financial sleepwalker and start being the architect of a life that most people can only dream of. You've got the math, you've got the strategy, and now you've got the choice. Are you going to keep paying the tax, or are you going to start building the empire? I'm your professor, and if this video helps you realize the true cost of waiting, do me a favor, leave a comment below with the word START. It lets me know you're committing to taking action today. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more deep dives into the math of wealth. Your future self is counting on you. Don't let them down.